Okay, so here is multiplication of exponents and the power of a power property. So we've already gone over multiplying. When you're multiplying two things, like for example, if I were multiplying x squared times x to the third, we know that we would just combine the exponents and make it x to the sixth. Okay, that was multiplication. So and then with division, like you had x to the third over x to the sixth, you subtracted it to the bigger side. The bigger side was on the bottom, so 6 minus 3 was 3, and we filled in an empty top with a 1. So that was multiplication and that was division. The third type that you're going to see is power to a power, or when you have an exponent on the outside of an exponent. So you can see here in the example I have a 5. So this is z to the fourth to the fifth. It's a power to another power, or has a power on the outside of the parentheses. What happens here is just like when you have any other number on the outside of parentheses, you're actually just going to distribute it. So you distribute the 5 into the 4. 5 times 4 is 20. So this is actually z to the 20th. Same thing goes over here. Distribute. 2 times 3 is 6. So it's 2 to the 6th. So it's really, that's as basic as it's going to get. So let's look at some of these examples. Okay. So for the first one, distribute. 3 times 7 is 21. So w to the 21. Here, distribute. 2 times 2 is 4. So negative 4 to the 4th. Distribute. 1 times 4 is 4. So 3 to the 4th. And here, distribute. 6 times 5 is x to the 30th. I think you get the idea. So now you can have distribution to multiple things. So one of the things that these problems here, the try problems, is to make sure that you understand what you're supposed to do. You're only supposed to distribute to what's in the parentheses. Same thing goes if you're distributing anything. So for this is x to the 8th. But if you look at, and that's supposed to be an 8, number 2, hey, this 2 would only go to the 3. It would not also go to the 4 because the 4 is on the outside of the parentheses. So it just goes to the 3. So the 4 will remain on the outside, and then you have y to the 6th. That's it. And 3 is a to the 30th. Now here you got a couple things going on. So you're going to distribute to both of them. 3 times 2 is 6, so a to the 6th, and c to the 12th. And that is it. Now it does get a little more complicated when you start involving other things here. So let's look at, see if I can zoom out here. Oh, way too far. So let's look at here. You can see that it does get quite complicated. Now notice in 5, is there anything on the outside of the parentheses? There isn't. There is nothing on the outside of the parentheses, so there is nothing to distribute. So you don't actually have to distribute anything. It turns out that this is just straight multiplication. So if you remember our multiplication rules, we multiply our coefficients. 2 times 3 is 6. And then we simply just add the exponents. 3 and 1 is x to the 4th, and that is it. So it's important to understand that you just don't go distributing whenever. You need to know when you do that. So here there is no power. There's no exponent on the outside of the parentheses. So this is not actually power to a power. It's just multiplication, or the first thing that we learned. If we just go down here, 7 has multiple things going on here. So I'm going to distribute to all of them. So I get y to the 8th, y to the 10th, and y to the 6th. And now we're not quite done yet, because now we can even combine all of these. And since this is multiplication, again, what we learned, the first thing we learned, we just simply add our exponents. 8, 10, and 6 make 24. So y to the 24th. Okay. So, we can look at here with number 6. Now, what happens when you have an exponent on the outside like this, and there is no exponent there's no exponent on the 2. There is nothing there to distribute to. Well, there really is an exponent there. It's just 1. So when we go to distribute, it's just 3 times 1. So this is 2 to the 3rd. Y to the 15th. And y to the 4th. Now we can combine a few things here. 2 to the 3rd we can actually do. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And we can combine these by simply adding the exponents. And we're done. I know it seems easier, or it seems so easy when you go through it. The concept itself is easy. You just have to remember what you can and cannot do. Okay, there is an order to things. So notice here in number 8, there is no exponent on the outside. The exponent on the outside tells you whether it's power to a power or not. Since there is no exponent on the outside, this is not power to a power. This is straight multiplication. And in multiplication, it's obviously not division, because you would have fraction lines. So this is straight multiplication. So we need to go through and combine everything. You start with your coefficients. Remember, your coefficients are and get multiplied. So this is a -1. So you have 4 times -1, which is -4. Then we go in alphabetical order, starting with x. x7 plus a -3 plus a 5 is x to the 9th. Y's 2 and -2 make y to the 0. And z, since it has nothing else to combine with, it just comes down to z squared. And that is your answer. It's really as complicated as this is going to get. There's nothing here. Let's see if we can go next. Okay, so this is really kind of as hard as it gets here. So sometimes there are multiple things to distribute to. So if we look at the example here, you're still going to distribute, but you're going to distribute to everything on the inside. But what you notice is that everything on the inside, there's no exponents on the inside. So we make them have exponents. 1, 1, 1. Now, when we distribute, we're going to distribute to each one. This is 2 times 1, which is 2. 2 times 1, which is 2. And 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, -4 squared, we actually can do that number because it's an actual number. So -4 times -4 is 16. So this is 16m squared n squared. So with a power to a power, you're going to distribute to everything on the inside of the parentheses. So as you look at 1 and 2 here, since there is no exponent, give them exponents. That should be the first thing you do. And now distribute. So 4 to the second, x to the second. 4 squared is 16, so we can change that to 16, x squared. Move over, same thing, distribute, so m to the 4th and n to the 10th. That's it. Here, goes to both. Remember, there's a 1 here. So 4 times 1 is 4, so it's -2 to the 4, w to the 12. Now, -2 to the 4th we can actually do. -2 times -2 times -2 times -2 is 16, w to the 12th. And that's really as difficult as it gets. But go ahead and try 1 through 6 on your own. Pause the video, and when you're done, hit play to check your answers. Okay, so I wanted to stop right here. You could check the first three in the first column here. All I did was distribute the 5 to both of those and then simplified. So you have your answers here. There. So, but what happened on number 2 here is you notice you got something a little crazy here. So I distributed the 6 to both, got 2 to the 6th, okay, and a to the 12th. Distributed the 2 here, got 4 to the 2nd, and c to the 4th. Now, here we're going to simplify. 2 to the 6th is 64. A, 12. We're going to simplify 4 squared, which is 16, and then c to the 4th. Now, I got this kind of mixed up here. I have coefficients in the middle. Since this is multiplication, because it's obviously not division, remember division you'd had fraction lines, but it's got to be multiplication, I can multiply those. I can combine 64 and 16 by multiplying them. 64 times 16, let me just see here, 64 times 16 is 1,024. So what your answer is going to look like is 1,024, that's a 4, A, 12, C, 4. And that's it. So sometimes that happens, and it's going to happen like in number 4 here. Let's change colors here. When we distribute, we get 4, and then negative 3 to the 2nd, y to the 6th. So then we have to do negative 3 squared, which is 9. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9, y to the 6th. Then we can multiply these right here. 4 times 9 is 36, y to the 6th. So, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to stop by during AL. But as difficult as it gets. There's some more here on the last page just as practice. But if you need some help again, talk to me during AL. Hope this helps.